Welcome to the Rice Field Archive. This time, we journey into Vietnam's legendary past, an age of ancient kings, sacred heroes, and forgotten battles. This is the legend of Saint Gióng. So settle in and let this ancient tale begin. In the time of the Hùng Kings, there lived an old woman who had no family and lived all by herself. One morning, when she went out to visit her field, she suddenly saw a giant footprint crushing several rows of eggplants. Startled, she cried out, "Oh my, whose foot could be this enormous?" Out of curiosity, she placed her own foot inside the strange footprint. Suddenly, she felt a shiver run through her body. From that day on, she became pregnant. When the time came, she gave birth to a plump baby boy and named him Gióng. But even when the child turned 3 years old, he still only lay on his back and asked to be fed. He could not sit up, could not roll over, and had never spoken, laughed, or smiled. At that time, invaders from the ancient kingdom of Yin came to attack the land. They were fierce and cruel, led by a terrifying commander known as the King of Yin. Wherever they went, they burned houses, killed people, and robbed them of their belongings. King Hung's army fought them many times, but could not defeat them. Deeply worried, King Hung sent messengers throughout the country to search for a talented hero who could help save the kingdom. One day, a royal messenger came to the village where little Gióng lived. Hearing the announcement that the king was seeking a hero, Giong's mother, who was rocking her son to sleep, jokingly said, "My child, you are so slow to walk and slow to speak. When will you ever be able to go fight the invaders and help the king?" To her astonishment, Gióng looked at his mother, opened his mouth, and spoke for the first time. "Mother, please invite the messenger in for me." After saying this, he fell silent again. His mother was both overjoyed and frightened. She hurried to tell the neighbors. Everyone rushed over, and they all agreed that this was something extraordinary. At last, one person said, "Let us invite the messenger in and see what the child wants." When the king's messenger entered the house and saw little Gióng, he asked, "You are only a 3-year-old child who has just learned to speak. Why have you called me here?" Gióng answered calmly and firmly, "Go back and tell the king to forge for me an iron horse, an iron sword, an iron suit of armor, and an iron helmet. I will drive away the cruel invaders." Everyone who heard this was amazed beyond words. Believing that a divine being had appeared, the messenger immediately rode back to report to the king. When King Hung heard the news, he was filled with joy. He ordered the blacksmiths to gather all the iron they could find and forge a horse, a sword, armor, and a helmet exactly as the boy had requested. When everything was finished, the iron weapons and armor were unbelievably heavy. Dozens of men could not even move the sword. King Hung had to send thousands of soldiers to find a way to carry everything to the village of little Gióng. When Giong's mother heard that the soldiers were bringing the iron horse to the village, she ran home in fear and said to her son, "My child, the king's business is no joking matter. The soldiers are coming in great numbers outside the field. What are we to do now?" Hearing this, Gióng suddenly sat up and said, "Do not worry about fighting the invaders, mother, but you must give me a great deal of food." His mother quickly cooked rice for him, but every pot she made, Gióng ate at once. Each time he finished a pot of rice, he grew a little bigger and asked for more. The more she fed him, the faster he grew, until in the blink of an eye, he had become a strong young man. When the rice ran out, his mother called upon the villagers for help. Everyone eagerly brought rice, sweet potatoes, betel, wine, fruits, and cakes until the whole yard was full. But no matter how much they brought, Gióng ate it all, and still he kept asking for more. Then Gióng said, "Mother, find cloth for me to wear." The villagers brought silk and cloth to make clothes for him. But Giong's body was growing so strangely fast that as soon as the clothes were finished, they became too tight and too short. More cloth had to be brought to extend them again and again. Before long, Giong's head touched the roof of the house. Everyone was still staring in astonishment when, at that very moment, the soldiers finally arrived, carrying the iron horse, the sword, the armor, and the helmet. Giong stepped out of the house and stretched his shoulders. Suddenly, his body rose tall and mighty, his legs longer than great pillars. He let out a shout as loud as thunder, "I am the general from heaven." Then Giong put on the iron armor, placed the iron helmet on his head, and swung the sword in his hand several times. After saying farewell to his mother and the villagers, he leapt onto the back of the iron horse. The iron horse reared up and breathed a blazing stream of red fire straight ahead. Giong pressed his feet against its sides, and the horse flew forward like the wind. With every stride, it crossed a great distance, shaking heaven and earth. In the blink of an eye, the horse charged into the Yin camps, which were spread across several forests. Giong's sword flashed like lightning. Every enemy soldier who rushed toward him was struck down. The iron horse roared fire, burning rows of enemy camps and setting whole forests ablaze. Smoke and dust filled the air, while cries and screams rose everywhere. But the king of Yin, the enemy commander, still shouted for his troops to attack. The more Giong fought, the stronger he became, and enemy bodies lay scattered across the forest. Suddenly, his sword broke. Without hesitation, Giong reached down and pulled up clumps of bamboo from both sides of the road. He swung them fiercely at the enemy troops who were trying to gather again under their commander's orders. Before long, the Yin invaders were scattered in every direction. The king of Yin was struck down and killed, his body shattered. The remaining enemy soldiers begged for mercy and surrendered. King Hung's army and the villagers only had to rush out and tie them up. In less than half a day, Giong had saved the country from disaster. By then, Giong's horse had reached the foot of Sokson mountain. There, Giong removed his armor and left behind his helmet. Then both he and his horse flew straight up into the sky. After the victory, to honor the hero, King Hung ordered a temple to be built for Giong in his home village and bestowed upon him the title of Hujong, Heavenly King. Even today, people can still see rows of round ponds stretching from Kim An and Jafuk all the way to Sokson. It is said that these are the hoofprints left by Saint Giong's horse. The forest burned by the fire from the iron horse is still known as Lamchai, the burnt village. And the bamboo that Giong pulled up to strike the invaders, scorched by the flames, turned from green to yellow with dark burn marks. That kind of bamboo still exists today, and people call it ivory bamboo or Jang Nga. And with that, our tale draws to an end. The epic story of Saint Gióng. If this journey through Vietnam's mythic past spoke to you, consider subscribing for more ancient tales, sacred legends, and forgotten stories from this land and beyond. Until the next story, thank you for listening.